let's talk fracking, because fracking is important. When I say fracking, I'm talking about oil fracking, and I'm talking about the Permian Basin in West Texas. The thing is I have said, and I've said it before, when the oil price starts to rise again, and it's all down to the Permian oil basin, what's going to happen is Saudi Arabia is going to have a stranglehold. And they know it. That's OPEC's going to have a stranglehold. And the oil price is going to go back up again. It's going to surge back up again. And this is when oil inventories drop. And the Permian has to keep pumping to keep these inventories high, to keep oil prices down. When oil prices go back up, the dollar is going to be toast. This is what's going to take down the dollar. It's going to take down the dollar like a sumo wrestler takes down a little skinny guy. Okay, so let's take a look here. What all is involved in a fracking well? Well, let me tell you what happens in a fracking well. The first year, they lose a 70% decline. The second year, they get a 50% further decline. So it gushers out of the ground after they first frack it. And then what happens is they get a huge decline in the first and second year. And then what they need to do is they need to go in and refrack the well. So how do they do this refracking? Here's the thing. We got a guy here, and he's talking about the refracking operation. And he said he was 35 miles north of Oklahoma City, and he was watching monitors as his crew shattered the Mississippi limestone thousands of feet below. So what happened was, he said it cost about $3.7 million in total to refract the well. 1/3 of that is the cost of fracking. Then there's the pipes loaded with explosives. They thread those pipes down into the hole that blasts the ancient reef. Then at a cost of about $80,000, that will consume 50,000 gallons of hydrochloric acid to dissolve the limestone. So they pump down 50,000 gallons of hydrochloric acid in there, and it dissolves the limestone. Another $68,000 pays for 1,000 gallons of antibacterial solution to kill the microorganisms that chew on the pipes. $110,000 goes to pay for a surfactant to reduce friction. $10,000 covers a scale inhibitor to prevent lime buildup. $230,000 purchases 2 million pounds of sand to prop up the fractures down inside the pipe, way down into the ground there, so that the oil and gas can flow into the well. Then there's $300,000 in pumping charges, plus the cost of equipment, rentals, pipes, water, which brings the price tag of fracking the well to about $1.2 million. Also, there's a host of other things, from cement to porta potty rentals, that account for the rest of the costs. So the total bill for this whole thing is $3.7 million to frack the well. So then that fracking, the well then pumps like crazy after it's done. So they frack it out, and then the well pumps like crazy for a little while, right? For less than a year, and then it starts to drop off rather quickly. I guess it pumps, when it pumps like crazy, let me see here, how much does it pump when the well's first pumping like crazy? Okay, it can pump like 1,200 barrels of oil a day when it first starts pumping, when they first drill it out and frack it like that, at a cost of $3.7 million. And then all of a sudden, what it does is after not very long, after like a year or two, it's down to only 100 barrels a day. It's got no staying power. And then it needs to be refracked. See? And so what happens, I guess, is every time they refrack, it's not quite as good as the time before when they fracked the time before. And every time it's less and less and less and less and less, diminishing returns. And in turn, what happens is then the cost of fracking goes upwards each and every time there's diminishing returns. Also, you have to understand something too. We have consumer price inflation, and that affects everything all the way down to fracking. And so, say a guy's fracking a well, and say he has to go and rent a porta potty. So he rents his porta potty, and say this year it costs him $100 a month to rent his porta potty. He goes next year to rent the porta potty, and the porta potty guy says, "Well, they're now $140 a month." You know, he has to pass that cost on to the fracking company, which in turn, instead of $3.7 million, now it's going to cost $4 million. You know, now the price of oil is going this way, and the costs are going this way. Can you see a problem here? What's going to happen is as these costs go up this way, right, and the price of oil goes down this way, eventually the price of oil is going to have to bottom around, have to turn around, and going to have to start going back up. And when the price of oil goes back up, because it's tied to everything else in this economy, right, it's tied to oil, what's going to happen then is that's going to send consumer prices up all the faster. And what we have is we're going to have a race here. It's only the fact that of a number of factors coming together that created these low oil prices in the first place. And these factors that come together to make these oil prices low in the first place are now going to come to an end, come to a close. And we're going to see higher oil prices. And so it's limited how, like, I've had some people say that, okay, we've got these new pipelines going in, and the oil price is going to stay low and maybe even get lower. Well, you have to understand that these oil that they're going to bring in on these new pipelines is oil that they cannot get out of the ground cheap. It's oil, the oil that's going to come in on these new pipelines is oil that's going to come out of the ground at a much higher price. And so they're not going to be able to lower the oil price, or they'll just quit pumping. There'll be nothing coming through those pipes at a low price. The only way that the oil is going to come through those pipes is if the oil has a price of over $70 a barrel to make it all in sustainable. Say if the oil price goes down to $40 or $30 a barrel, well, a lot of these oil plays are just going to have to shut down because their all-in cost is actually higher than the price they're getting for the oil. And this played out a little bit when they first had these problems of the oil price going down a little while ago. And the reason why this played out was, I'll try to explain it. What happened was back when the oil price was up high, they eyed all these fracking wells, and they saw dollar signs. And so what they did was they borrowed money from the banks to put these wells in with the oil price high. And what happened was the oil price went down. But what they had bought, oil companies had bought derivatives, insuring them against an oil price drop, so that it ensured that they would get the price of the old higher price. So it was like insurance. These derivative contracts that they had were like insurance, insuring them the higher price, so that when the price dropped, they were still getting the high price for oil. Even though the price had dropped down low, they were still getting the price paid for price up here. But now those derivative contracts have expired, and they've been satisfied. And so now they can't afford this price drop anymore. These oil companies now, if it happens again this time, the price goes down, they're just gonna cut off production. And so the lower the oil price goes, if the oil price does go much lower, if it does, say the oil price does go down and find a bottom, the lower that bottom is, the more sharp it's going to go up the other way. Because what it's going to do is it's going to cause a massive decrease in oil production. And so this thing is going to bottom out, and the oil price is going to go up one way or another. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.